Introducing your host, Kirbs! Every year, towards the end of Q1, there's this big award show that happens for movies. But who cares, right? I mean, it's just a bunch of rich people giving awards to their friends, right? I kind of care about it. I try to watch as many of the nominated movies as I can, just for fun. But there's one category I always ignore.
Documentary short subject.
That's a good one.
All right.
Well, there's a few categories, but I'm here to talk about the one for Best Animated Short Film. I've always wanted to be more well-versed in this category because I like animated shorts, and frankly, there is way more experimentation and style and uniqueness going on here than in the feature section. I think the constraints of a short film, when you're limited to telling a small-scale, self-contained story, allows for some really good and polished filmmaking. So I watched all 5 animated shorts that were nominated this year. And then after that, since I had so much fun, I went and watched the other 10 films on the shortlist. But I'm here to tell you my thoughts on each nominee, rank them, and maybe look behind the scenes to see how they were made. Welcome to the Oscars! Or should I call it the Kirbs? No. The Academy Awards. No. The Academy Awards? No. Go back. One more. And play the music. Watching all these animated shorts gave me so much inspiration. I'd love to make my own short film one day, but I feel like my writing and storyboarding skills could use a little boost. Luckily, Skillshare has that covered. Skillshare has creative classes taught by world-class creatives, like professional illustrators, renowned graphic designers, and successful entrepreneurs. It is the best place to learn a creative skill or pick up a new hobby. If you're looking to reconnect with your creativity and maybe avoiding brain rot, Skillshare is where humans come to learn from other humans. My personal recommendation as it relates to this video is Siobhan Toomey's class, Storyboarding for Film or Animation. There's a lot of valuable information to learn here, how to break down a script, the thumbnailing process, camera angles, and cinematography. If you want to level up your storyboarding skills, or perhaps learn more about the art of filmmaking, these classes and many more will give you the tools you need. The first 500 people to use my link in the description or scan the QR code will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. And thank you, Skillshare, for sponsoring this video. Patrick Watson, whose name you might not immediately recognize, but whose music you may very well have heard at some point, composes a beautiful, melancholy score for the first short film on our list, The Girl Who Cried Pearls. This Canadian stop-motion film is a feast for the eyes. I'm a big fan of stop-motion puppetry. It has this very nostalgic feel for me, so I pretty much knew I was going to enjoy this film from the get-go. Some of the puppets are unsettling, in a good way. The film begins with an old man telling his granddaughter the story behind a pearl that she finds in his study. We're taken back to the man's childhood as a homeless boy trying to scrape up whatever money he can to survive. And while spending his nights in an abandoned apartment, he grows attached to a girl next door, whose tears seem to magically become pearls. As the boy collects the pearls and sells them off to a greedy pawnbroker for cash, he's left wondering if his pursuit of wealth is worth the girl's feelings. At least that's what we're led to believe. Wink wink. This is going to be a spoiler-free video though. When I first watched The Girl Who Cried Pearls, the twist ending almost took away a little bit of the magic for me, but after a second viewing, knowing what was actually happening the whole time and being able to see it differently, it really grew on me. I think it's a clever little fable. What really won me over though, as I hinted at earlier, are the visuals of this film and its immersive, handcrafted, and tactile world. Watching this felt like stepping into an old, dirty antique store. The puppet heads were oil painted and made to look like old wooden dolls, and they enlivened the set pieces with all kinds of materials and random things they'd find in thrift stores, pieces of trash sometimes that they repurposed. And I think that's what really makes the film special, the way it gives value and beauty to these materials. I mean, just look at these sets. I think the care that went into making this film, the behind-the-scenes process, is as reflective of the film's message as the film itself. The idea that anything can have worth if you believe it does. I also found it interesting that, unlike Leica, which 3D prints thousands of heads with different mouth shapes and expressions for swapping, the team behind Pearls used one puppet head and then digitally added the lip sync in post. And that's actually just for the opening and closing scenes. You'll notice throughout the main part of the film that there is no other lip syncing or changing expressions. The characters only gesture as the narrator tells the story. It's a clever way to cut corners and significantly reduce the animator's workload because, let me tell you, animators hate lip syncing. We'll come up with any excuse not to do it. The Girl Who Cried Pearls was peak. It was great. This was a really good one to start with. Don't look at me. This film was so cute. Forevergreen is the entry on this list that feels most like a Disney film or a Pixar short. And that would make sense because directors Nathan Engelhart and Jeremy Spears both work at Walt Disney Animation Studios as a 3D animator and a story artist, respectively. They made this film over the course of 5.5 years, spending their lunches and evenings managing the project. Forevergreen follows an orphaned bear who gets taken in by this fatherly evergreen tree, who feeds him pine cone dust? Oh, seeds. Those are seeds. And the tree gives the bear this little pine cone that looks like a teddy bear. And it's so cute. But when the bear develops a hunger for human food and ventures out across the river to scavenge a garbage-ridden campsite, he puts himself and Mr. Tree in danger. The little punk. If you like crying, you're gonna like this one because it's so sad. And then the ending is so cute. Oh.
Knock knock, get the door. It's religion.
Okay. But once again, I love the visual style of this movie. Director Jeremy Spears, who runs his own woodshop on the side, infuses his wood carving aesthetic into the production design. And you can see that influence throughout the film. The blocky shapes and rough textures of the bear mimic a wood carving, and the evergreen tree's branches resemble wooden planks. The black crows are modeled after burnt wood, which carries that same sheen. Even the water flows like wood grain, and as it splashes against the rocks, you'll see it turning into curly wood shavings and splinters. There's a free download of the digital art book for this short on the film's website, so definitely check it out if you want to see some masterful visual development for a small-scale project like this. Now, this was going to be a spoiler-free video, but I have to say this, so skip ahead if you don't want to hear it. This bear is a murderer. He abandons his day one over some potato chips and starts a forest fire which kills the tree. Smokey would not approve. You can watch this on YouTube, though it might be for a limited time, but I'm not sure. I'm gonna keep this one short because I didn't really think that this one was, good. The Three Sisters is about 3 sisters who live in 3 adjoining houses on a small island. Island 5 to be exact. But when a flock of seagulls steals their food and one of the sisters loses all their money, they have to rent out one of the rooms to cover the cost of their supplies. So this crusty sailor arrives, and then the rest of the film is the sisters fighting over him romantically. I thought this was going to be another religious film.
Knock knock.
Just based on some of the typography, but nope, not religious. Actually, they do go to church at the beginning. I forgot there was a church behind their house. We never see that again. The art style and character designs aren't really to my taste. The animation is a decent quality despite that, somehow. And something about the mysterious, isolated setting with the different islands is interesting. The funny thing about the director, he submitted this short to film festivals under a pseudonym, Timur Kognov. That's not his real name. Reason being that he wanted to test if festival juries would acknowledge the film without his real name attached, because then when he submitted it to the Academy, he revealed his true identity, Russian director Konstantin Bronzit, who has been nominated for 2 previous Oscars for such hits as Lavatory Love Story, and then one called We Can't Live Without Cosmos, which I thought was pretty good, actually. Anyway, yeah, now this has an Oscar nom. This film's actually the reason I checked out the rest of the shortlist, just to see what was snubbed. Hey, how long is your Watch Later playlist? Mine's like 80 videos and counting. Will I ever get around to this one? I don't know. Retirement Plan is a simple short film that explores the idea of having a growing and never-ending list of things you want to do in your lifetime. Things you want to accomplish, places you want to go, books to read, movies to see. If you have chronophobia, like I do, probably, maybe, watch at your own risk. Narrated by Donal Gleeson, the film is essentially a compilation of scenes following this retired man, Ray, presumably the narrator when he's older, doing and experiencing everything he never had the time for in his life. Everything he saved for retirement. It's a very gloomy, almost anxiety-inducing experience watching this short film. I can't help but feel a bit sad afterwards, like we only have so much time to do things in our finite lifetimes. Will I ever get around to watching every movie ever? Or becoming a music expert? Or when someone's telling me about a book and I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds like a pretty good book, and I make a mental note of it, and if I'm especially motivated, I'll write it on my list, or worse, I'll buy it, and then it sits on my shelf for years, and then whenever I move to a new place, I pack up my books and I see that one and I'm like, John Kelly, the director of Retirement Plan, had similar thoughts about these never-ending lists of things to do. Animation-wise, it's very simple. No shading, flat colors, minimal movement. Fun fact, they animated the whole thing in Moho. And there's some really cool behind-the-scenes videos about how they had to make so many different rigs, unique to every shot in the film, of which there are hundreds. I think the colors are an interesting choice. They're very desaturated, not bright or vibrant. Honestly, it feels like a dream. And I think that's what this film is, at the end of the day, a dream. You can't possibly have the time in your life to tackle a seemingly infinite list of things to do, especially if you're retired. But this film imagines it. Finishing that list one day, learning everything you've ever wanted to learn about yourself and the world. I think it's fine for what it is. It's obviously not as plot-driven or character-driven as the other nominees. It's more like if someone said, "You are now breathing manually." And you're like, oh, I guess I am now. I don't like that. That was my experience watching this. If you'd like to give it a watch yourself, it's on YouTube for free. This is the last of the 5 nominees for Best Animated Short Film, and this one feels really special and unique. Butterfly is inspired by the real story of Alfred Nakash, who was a Jewish Olympic swimmer. Moments from his life flash by, like his experiences as a child with a fear of water, competing in the 1938 Berlin Olympics amidst tremendous racism, and his imprisonment at Auschwitz and being the only member of his family to survive the atrocities. The animation in this film is so well done. Made with layers of oil paints, each scene morphs into the next, colors flowing and dissolving like memories fading in and out of consciousness. For some scenes, they even utilized multiple layers of paint on glass and oil to differentiate between the blurry look underwater and the sharp contrast above the surface. Apparently the film was animated by 3 people, and it took 100 days, which sounds surprisingly fast. I can only imagine how much patience you would need to animate in this style. Animating every scene straight ahead with oil paint, it must come with a lot of uncertainty. When you're animating digitally or even on paper, you can see all your frames in front of you and make changes and corrections as you go, but in a medium like this, you just kind of have to go for it, see what happens. I think that uncertainty with morphing paint ties into the overall theme of the story and the uncertainty and change that the swimmer Nakash experienced throughout his life. I really enjoyed this one, and once again, this is available to watch on YouTube, so see if you like it. Like I mentioned earlier, after watching these 5 animated shorts, I went back and watched the whole shortlist in this category, a list made up of 15 films, and when only 5 of them can snag the nomination, well, that leaves 10 that are cast aside. But there's some real gems hidden in this shortlist, so I want to take a moment to shout out a few favorites. Huracan is a black and white urban adventure that follows this pig guy fetching a new keg to help out a local beer stand. This has some of the coolest cinematography and atmospheric sound design I've seen in an animated short. I felt like I was right there in the action the whole time. The Quinta's Ghost is inspired by the true story of the Spanish painter Francisco Goya and the Black Paintings, a series of haunting murals that he painted in isolation toward the end of his life. It's creepy, gory, and I've always been so fascinated by Goya's Black Paintings ever since I learned about them in an art history class, so seeing the story adapted with beautiful animation and painterly arcane-style textures shot this film to the top of my list. I might even dedicate a whole video to talk about it, but we'll see. Speaking of gore, in Playing God, the strangest, creepiest clay sculptures come to life in the darkness of a sculptor's workshop. Kind of like Frankenstein, this horror film explores the concept of creation. The fleshy masses of failed iterations of our main character move and writhe in ways you can only do in claymation, which is some of the most impressive I've ever seen. Next, I want to shout out Snow Bear. This hand-drawn film was made entirely by one guy, Aaron Blaise, a former 2D animator for Disney in the 90s and also the director of Brother Bear. Bro likes animating bears, I guess. It's a really well-done short, and you will become so emotionally invested in this story about a lonely polar bear in search of a friend. Oh, also, Cartoon Saloon released a short last year called Eru. I had to mention it because I love Cartoon Saloon as a studio, even though I unfortunately didn't love the short as much as I wanted to. It follows a girl trying to prove herself to her clan by venturing underground to find their well's missing water. It just didn't hit the same level of quality and storytelling that you see in their features, but it's still worth a watch. And that concludes the list. If I had to rank the nominees, I'd put them in this order. And then factoring in the rest of the shortlist, it would look like this. I know this video was a bit different, but I just love finding hidden gems of animation and talking about them. Like I mentioned, 3 of these films are available to watch on YouTube. Obviously, I'm releasing this video just before the 2026 Oscars, so I don't know which short film wins yet, but if you're seeing this afterwards, well, maybe I'll update the description with my reaction to the winner. As always, if you'd like to support me and the channel, join Club Kirbs over on Patreon. It's $5 a month and you'll get early access to videos, behind the scenes content, and your own on-screen credit. Alright, I'm out of here.